Before we dive in, just a few housekeeping items about the webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. The recording of the webinar will be available on EPA's website. All lines have also been muted. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, I encourage you to use the chat feature to ask your questions. At the end of the presentation, if we do have time, we will answer any questions that you have. If we don't have time, we will also follow up to make sure that everyone's questions do get answered. So the goal of today's webinar is to provide an overview of the upcoming changes to ODS reporting. So the things that we're going to cover today are why the process is changing, what is changing, what is not changing, when the process is changing, and what you can do to prepare. So why is the process changing? The process is changing to both streamline and improve the ODS reporting forms and how you submit that data to EPA. These changes are coinciding with the upgrade of the agency's ODS tracking system. For those who aren't familiar, the ODS tracking system is the database system used by EPA to track data on activities related to production and consumption of ODS. It's an internal system used at the agency, and it collects all data that's reported in accordance with 40 CFR Part 82. So there are three key things that are changing about the data reporting process. First is the electronic reporting capability. Second is the CDX application upgrade. For those who aren't familiar, CDX is the Central Data Exchange. It's the online platform used by EPA to securely submit data to the agency. It's used by a variety of EPA programs, including the ODS program. And then lastly, we're changing the way in which EPA communicates with stakeholders. So to go into a bit more detail on each of these, first is our new and improved electronic reporting capability. Currently, EPA has 36 reporting forms that are available on our website. These include 28 print-ready forms in Microsoft Word, as well as 8 electronic reporting forms that are available in Excel. We are consolidating these forms into 16 electronic forms. So they will all be Excel-based forms. We will be retiring the print-ready forms, so you won't have the Word version available anymore online. We also are consolidating the number of forms. We're retiring forms that are no longer needed due to the regulations. We are also combining forms where there was opportunity to streamline. So for example, currently for second-party destruction activities, there are 3 reporting forms available. There is one for Class 2 chemicals, one for Class 1 chemicals, and one for methyl bromide. We're consolidating that into one second-party destruction report so that if you have to report on both Class 1 and Class 2 chemicals, you'll now only need to submit one report to EPA. The electronic reports are also a lot smarter. We've taken a lot of time to improve these forms to make them more user-friendly and have better validation capabilities. The goal in doing this is to ensure that the data that gets entered into the form is accurate and complete. And so when you submit that form to EPA, the data is as accurate and complete as possible. This is hopefully going to prevent the need for resubmissions down the road. And here is an example of what our new forms are going to look like. You can see here each form will have an instructions tab. It will provide some basic information about the form, some links for additional resources. We also are going to have a section 1 in every form. This is where you're reporting on what company you're reporting on behalf of, what type of report, is it an original submission or a resubmission, the report year, and then the report quarter if that's applicable to your activity. One thing to note is that we are no longer requesting contact information within section 1 of the form. This is similar to our existing electronic forms, and this is because we'll be relying on CDX for providing that information. So when you submit the form through CDX, you'll be entering the contact information directly into CDX instead. And then here are just some additional sections. Each report is unique in what sections are contained in there depending on the report type. But the reports are all going to have a very similar look and feel. They're going to be color-coded in the same way to help you understand where to enter data. There'll be instructions within the form and some other reference information that will help you complete the form. So moving on to the second key feature that is changing, which is the CDX application. So this is the online platform used for submitting data. We have updated the application to make it a lot more streamlined. The ODS program currently uses CDX for electronic submission, but we've completely redesigned what that interface looks like and the capabilities of the interface. One of the new features is that you'll see a submission history table within CDX. This will help you very easily see what reports you have submitted, when you submitted them, and some other really useful information about those reports. Another great feature about the submission history table is that it is specific to each organization versus an individual. This is going to allow multiple representatives of a given company to register under the same organization within CDX and have access to the same submission history table. This will also help you if you have someone who retires or moves on from the company who previously was responsible for submitting data. You'll still be able to access that table and see the historic submissions that were submitted by that person. The online application is also going to be a lot smarter. We have validations that we've programmed into the system to, again, help that the information you enter and upload into the system is accurate and complete. The goal of this, again, is to help ensure that when you submit data to us, there are as few errors as possible, and we hope that this will, again, minimize the need for any back and forth and resubmissions of data. And here is a screenshot of the new application and the submission history table. So there are a few things I want to point out. First, you can see that the organization name and ID are shown at the top of the table. So this is showing that this is specific to that organization and not an individual. You can also see within the table there are columns that show information for each report that was submitted. There's the report ID, which is assigned by CDX when you submit and create a report, the submission date, the report type, the reporting year, and the reporting quarter. You can also see that it shows who last submitted or modified a report, the status of a report, and also an option to view documents for a report. These last few columns are new and relate to the new methods of communication that I'll go through next. So lastly, we're changing how you receive communications from EPA. And we're hoping to streamline the communications and also communicate electronically through CDX when feasible. So there are 5 different types of communications that you will likely receive. The first is a submission acknowledgement. This is an email that is sent by CDX to your email following the submission of a report in the system. The second item here is the notification of status change. So once you submit a report to EPA, we will receive it in the tracking system, review it, and either accept it into our system or reject it if there are issues or concerns with the data. Once we have completed our review and either accepted or not accepted it into the system, you'll receive an email that indicates that the status of your report has changed. The last three items here are communications that will be sent through CDX and available for download in CDX. Currently, EPA prints balance statements and approval letters when you report on certain activities and send those communications through mail. We are no longer going to be doing that. So a balance statement, if you report on activities that impact allowance balances, you'll receive a statement. This statement gets generated within our tracking system. It gets transmitted securely through into CDX, and then you'll be able to log into CDX and download that report. Similar with an approval letter, that gets generated on our database, transmitted to CDX, and available for you to download from there. And lastly, we have an error report. This is a new feature as well. Many of you are probably accustomed to Mike or myself calling you up when we have questions about your report or concerns, or there seems to be missing pieces to it, like an attachment. Instead of us calling you, we're going to try to use the system as a way to communicate when these issues come up. So in our system, we'll be able to tailor a message that describes the concerns we have with the report, and then we'll transmit that through our system into CDX, and you'll be able to log into CDX, download that report, and view what issues we have so you can then resubmit your report in the system. So here are a few snapshots of what these communications look like. The first here, the submission acknowledgement, an email. It doesn't have a lot of information. It references the report ID that gets generated by CDX. And this is really for you to keep for your records. The next one here, the notification of status change. You can see that it references the report ID and then also identifies what the new status is of your report. And if you recall from the submission history table, there was that column that had the report status, and that is where that information will then appear when you log into CDX. So the last three items here, as I mentioned, are going to be files that get transmitted into CDX and available there for you to download. So when you log into CDX, in the last column on the right, there'll be a link to review documents. So you'll locate your report using the report ID or whatever other information about your report that is most useful. You'll find that report, click that link. You'll then be brought to a screen where you'll be able to view both the documents that you submitted to EPA, that you uploaded when you submitted the file, as well as any communications that EPA sent back to you. And again, here are just some screenshots of what these communications look like. The balance statement and approval letters are very similar to the types of communications you're already receiving in hard copy. And then the error report is just a text message that is tailored based on whatever issues EPA has identified during their review of your report. So that covers what is changing about our new process, but there are a number of things that are not changing. So first is the secure method of reporting. Security continues to be a major focus of the agency, and we continue to use the appropriate procedures to ensure that the submission of data online remains secure. The next item that is not changing is the method of electronic reporting. So we are continuing to use CDX as our platform for electronic reporting. This is partly because it is a secure way of transmitting that information to EPA. We highly encourage that all reporters use CDX to submit their data once this new application is launched and once the new reporting forms are available. This is both for security reasons and also that we believe it has so many advantages in how you manage your submissions. Next is the electronic reporting format of our forms. We are continuing to use Microsoft Excel as the platform for completing reports. We also are continuing to use the process of generating a CSV file. When you open up our reporting forms and fill out the forms, when you get to the end, there's a button there that says Prepare Submission. You select that button, and a CSV file is automatically generated based on the information entered. Both the CSV file and Excel file need to be uploaded into CDX and submitted as part of your submission. And this, again, is exactly how the process works now with our e-forms. And then finally, the reporting requirements. We are not changing the content of the reports, the frequency or timing of when you report, or what attachments are required as part of your submissions. We hope that our forms streamline by automating some of the calculations, but the actual data requirements have not changed. So when is the process changing? We are excited to be launching our new system and the new application on July 1st. The new system is designed to start collecting data for the 2018 reporting year. We do ask if you have to resubmit a report for a previous reporting year that you contact EPA directly to coordinate on how best to do that. In addition, if you've submitted a Q1 2018 report and need to resubmit that report, please contact EPA to figure out the best way to do that, since we know that you were using the previous version of the forms before, and those are no longer going to be compatible with our new system. The new reporting forms and the guidance documents are going to be released online on July 1st as well to coincide with this launch. So what can you do to prepare? The first thing you can do is register with CDX. Registering is a fairly quick process. It's just putting in your account information and creating that account. For stakeholders that are already registered with CDX, you won't need to re-register. Our new CDX application is going to replace the existing one. So if you're already registered with CDX and with the ODS program, your account will automatically transfer to the new application. The other thing we are asking of stakeholders is to provide EPA with your organization ID. So as I mentioned, we're going to rely on CDX for contact information. And this also includes the organization name under which you register in CDX. So to clarify this a bit more, when you register in CDX, you are required to register under an organization. CDX maintains a list of organizations in their system, and they also provide users with the option to add an organization. So each organization within CDX is assigned a unique 5 to 7 digit ID, and the tracking system uses this ID to identify which company a report is applicable to. This concept is a bit new, and we will be going over it in more detail in future webinars, and it also goes into more detail in our guidance documents about it. The key thing to take away is that we are requiring that companies use a consistent organization ID when submitting data in CDX. This is beneficial to us to track your reports. It is also beneficial to you, as I mentioned, with the management of your submission history table. Once you have registered, we do ask that you send an email to Mike and myself to let us know which organization name and ID you'll be using to submit data in CDX. Even for those of you that are using CDX currently, we still ask that you send us an email just to confirm which organization. We know some of you are registered under multiple organization names, and so it would be great if you can just let us know exactly which one you'll be using moving forward. So as I alluded to, we will be having additional training webinars to go into all of this in much more detail. So we'll be hosting 3 different webinars in early July. The first one is going to cover registering with CDX. This is where we'll get more into the details of your organization ID, as well as general account management. The next one will be on preparing ODS submissions. This will focus on our reporting forms, how to fill out those forms, what features they have that you should be aware of to help you when filling them out. And then lastly, we'll be having a webinar on submitting data in CDX. We'll go through the step-by-step process of creating a new submission and sending that to EPA. We'll also go through things like resubmissions, which are a little bit unique in our new system relative to how it works now. We will be sending out details on the webinars. We'll be sending out links to everybody who attended today. We'll also be posting this information online. For those of you that won't be able to attend, recordings of the webinars will be made available online. And then lastly, we encourage you to download our EPA guidance documents. There are 3 guidance documents that cover these 3 key steps in the process of registering, preparing your submissions, and submitting the data through CDX. We will be releasing the updated documents on July 1st, and we encourage you to go online and download a copy of those files. So that concludes our presentation today. I thank everybody for participating and taking the time to listen in. Again, we are really excited to roll out these changes and think they're going to be really beneficial for everybody. So please make sure that you reach out if you have questions. If you have any questions right now, if you want to write them in the chat box, I am happy to try to answer them right now. We have some time. And I'm just giving people a moment to type out. It looks like there are a few people who have questions. There's one question about the request for additional consumption form. That will be included in the new process as well. So all of our reporting forms that there are forms online for right now will be part of the new process. So there's another question about registering with CDX. So in order to register, or in order for a company to register, it will need to be an individual that does the registering. So individuals register with CDX, and when you register under a specific company or organization name in CDX. So if you have an individual account, you'll need to associate yourself with a certain company when you register with the ODS program. So One clarifying thing, with our existing system, those of you who currently report electronically know that Mike has given you a 3-digit ID to use when filling out the reporting forms. This is no longer going to be the case. That 3-digit ID is no longer going to be relevant to our new system. Instead, when you log into CDX and you log into your account, you'll see in your submission history table the company you're registered under, and in parentheses will be that ID. So if I just scroll back to one of the slides that had, here it is. So you can see here when you log into CDX after you've registered. So if you already are registered and do not know what your ID is, your organization ID, once we launch the new system and you log in, you'll see here the name of your company that you're registered under, and then in parentheses will be the ID. And that is the ID that we request you provide to us. So we have another question here about resubmissions. Resubmissions are going to work a bit differently in the new system. And I'll go into a little bit of detail now, but we will cover this in much more detail in the Submitting Data through CDX webinar. So submissions, right now, when you submit, you'll have a report created. And you can see here, you can find your report. One of the validations in CDX that we've programmed is that if you've already submitted a Q1 2016 Class 2 importer report, CDX is not going to let you submit another one. If you do need to resubmit a report, either because something has changed or because your report was not accepted by EPA, you'll log into CDX, you'll find your report, and you select the link under Report ID. That will give you the option then to modify your report, reload documents, and resubmit it to EPA. So within CDX, your resubmissions are going to replace your original submissions. Again, this is going to help manage the different reports, hopefully in a more streamlined way. So there's one other question about dates. The trainings are going to take place July 10th, 11th, and 12th. We are only going to have one training session on each of these topics. If you're unable to attend them, we will be recording the webinars and making those available online to make sure that you are able to listen in if you need. And again, myself, Mike, Catherine, we are all available if you have specific questions, either now or when you actually start registering or trying to submit data in the new system. So we have a question about seeing old submissions from the old system, and I'm not sure how, the answer to that. So I will check on that and get back to you of how, what will happen with those submissions. I believe they'll still be in the system. I'll just have to figure out how you'll be able to access them. And going back again to the resubmissions, within the tracking system on our end, we will be tracking the various versions of submissions. Within CDX, when you resubmit a file, it's going to replace your previous submissions. So those previous submissions will not be tracked within CDX. Instead, you'll have to save copies of those files in your own personal files. They won't be saved within CDX. All right. Are there any other questions that I can answer while I have everybody on the line? All right. Well then, thank you everybody again for attending and taking the time to listen in. We will be in touch with more information soon. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.